Hello, John.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about the lack of spiritual content in Irish TV. I think you have a paragraph there in front of you which describes, or I think it's RT describing what they do.
That's right.
You can maybe read that out.
A short version of the statement that they issued or what they do. And RTE religious programs, they say, aim to reflect, interrogate, celebrate and explain the religious, ethical and spiritual life of contemporary Ireland. Note the word contemporary.
Yes.
We broadcast over 100 hours each year, not 100 hours each month or that, 100 hours each year on both television and radio, including documentaries, discussions, interviews, festival features and worship programs reflecting the full diversity. Note the word diversity. It just doesn't refer to Catholics, I presume, of religious belief and practice in Ireland.
Okay. So I suppose the first question I'm going to ask you is, it's only 100 hours, which is a very, very small amount in 1 year. So are they doing a good job, you think?
They're not doing a job at all, and for them to issue such a statement is tantamount to it's malevolent, it's bad, it's dismissive, it's negligible, and of course they mentioned the word diversity. They mentioned documentaries, various other items that they purport to provide. How they can do this in 100 hours must be a mystery. It just doesn't work.
That's a very good point, yeah.
For example, I cannot remember any religious or spiritual discussion on that channel, be it radio or television, for years. They used to have a program one time at night time called Outlook. It lasted for about, I think, 3 minutes, maybe 5, and it was a reflection for the day that had gone ahead. You could call it a spiritual type item. I remember that. And on the radio one time, particularly in Lent, but of course they don't practice that nowadays in the TV and radio land. In those programs, they used to have at the radio, they used to have a 3-minute spiritual talk or reflection by different lay people. And I remember one famous one, or many of one, by a man called McCarthy, who owned the embankment in Tala and was from Kerry. And one would never think that he had such a spiritual understanding of his faith and life. I remember him doing a 3-minute spiritual interlude of his attitude during a week, for a full week, and various other people would be doing the same from time to time. It was a very interesting and important aspect, and I was a much younger man at the time and found it very good.
A program you might remember which first aired in 1962, and it was broadcasting for 34 years, and they've done documentaries from 75 countries. I'm talking about Radharc, which is the Gaelic for view or vision. Do you remember Radharc?
I do, and it was definitely a spiritual type program, lasting a half an hour, and done by I think priests, religious, under the direction of the much maligned Archbishop John Charles McQuaid. He had enough vision to try and show the Catholic and Christian faith in a better light than they might otherwise experience in this emerging TV station.
We live, some would say, in a contemporary culture. What kind of spiritualism would you like to see on TV? Is it based on, for example, Radharc, which is indoctrination of Christian values? Is that the kind of spiritual TV that you want?
Well, that certainly would be better than nothing, and so we're getting nothing at the moment. So a spiritual content from a Christian point of view, not from a Buddhist or Buddhist or some other Hindu sort of so-called meditation or whatever euphemism they like to apply to it. A Christian content, be it have a Catholic concentration, considering that 85% of the population of Ireland describe themselves as Catholic rather than any other faith.
Okay, but for example, we have 60,000 Muslims in Ireland, and if you were to have spiritual TV which focused more on the Christian, would that not alienate the 60,000 Muslims in Ireland, or should we cater for them?
It certainly would not alienate them. Certainly Catholics visiting Muslim countries have scant chance of celebrating their Catholic faith. For example, in Saudi Arabia and some other Muslim countries, including Egypt or wherever Muslims are in charge, Catholics face terrible difficulties. As a matter of fact, we hear scant reports of the persecution of Catholics and Christians in Muslim countries like Syria and Iraq, and in Egypt, in Pakistan and in India by Hindus and various other Buddhists in those countries. So the 60,000 or whatever it is Muslims in this country, they've chosen to come to a Catholic and a Christian country. They generally don't join the culture of the country that they enter. They keep their own habits and all the rest of it. They're allowed to do so. So the idea that Catholics and Christians should be taking them into consideration is a bit far-fetched in a Christian country.
So are you saying that our priorities should be our Christian values for a Christian country? Is that what you're saying?
Correct, and because the Muslims have their own traditions and what have you, which they adhere to, irrespective of what we do or don't do in this country. They don't need us to have programs catering for their particular spiritual needs. Their needs are completely different from a Catholic and a Christian point of view, as any person that ever studied anything would know.
I think if you were to ask any young Irish person at the moment about spiritual TV, the first thing they'd be talking about that would come to mind is these programs about hauntings and these programs about these psychics speaking to the dead. It seems to be the darker side of spiritualism is promoted quite strongly on TV.
Yes. Unfortunately, that's what they call Satanism, a demonic behaviour that doesn't come under remotely approaching the Christian, Catholic and Christian spiritual what I'm talking about. The fact is that a human being, I just mentioned this again, I might have mentioned before, but I'll mention it again.
Go ahead then.
The highest form of happiness that has been studied down the centuries, the highest form of a human happiness that you can have is spiritual. Now, when have you heard that expression and that conclusion reached in any program on RTE? For example, on the Late Late Show, which is supposed to reflect the overall ideas in the country, recently they had a mockery of the Blessed Eucharist, which is a Catholic sacred duty.
We will be coming to that at a later point, John. Okay, so do you think RTE has gone from being a broadcaster with Catholic censorship to a broadcaster where anything goes?
Well, certainly they have no Catholic spiritual content in my experience.
But in the past it was a Catholic station which catered for Catholics.
Well,
when you had programs like Radharc, which we've mentioned.
Yeah, well, that's only for a half an hour. Most of their content are quite the reverse, and You've only got to look at the programs. They're what they call these programs, Fair City and all the rest of it, that they have out on a weekly and maybe a few times a week. There's no Catholic or Christian tradition, and that is not even signed of a priest or a church or nothing.
Do you think RTE, in a sense, in the modern Ireland, are pandering to the ratings?
They have a secular anti-Catholic agenda. Even the Evangelists, which I believe they wanted to abolish, and only our other Christian traditions, the Protestants, liked it. They were going to abolish it, but when the Angelus rings on the television, and thanks for the goodness we have the radio that we don't be distracted, but the sign of a church is nearly something that they're not able to focus. You see people going about their business or what have you, and nothing whatsoever by way of a Catholic influence on the Angelus. I think they're calling it a people's prayer. Like they are so ridiculous that in some respects the licence fee should be taken off them, as I believe in Britain it's going to be done with the BBC. If people don't pay their licence, they will suffer no penalty in the courts or any place else. RTE and the media don't deserve a licence fee. If they want to promote a secular agenda, let them do it at their own expense. I don't want my money, and I'm retired, but my TV licence is paid by the state to that abominable organisation, and I don't like it. If I had to pay it, I wouldn't pay it.
Okay. You mentioned the comedian and his comments about the Eucharist. The comedian you're talking about is Blind Boy of the Rubber Bandits fame. He caused controversy with his comments about the Eucharist being the haunted bread, and this angered a lot of Christians.
Of course it did, but it was an RTE also on the Late Late Show.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, you see, that's an abomination. They should have been prosecuted for such incitement to hatred against the Catholic faith, and the people that were on that programme should be charged with insulting and derogatory behaviour against an important about our faith.
Finally, what advice would you give RTE and television stations in Ireland in regard to spiritualism?
Yeah, I tell them, I presume the people that are in those organisations are not robots. They must be human beings. They must have studied something. But if they're indoctrinated in that dreadful organisation, they'd want to object. If there's such a thing as a Catholic in that organisation, or a Christian, they'd want to speak up.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.